How does PressConf build on that legacy?
So I'd been to every iteration of Pressnomics. The whole thing was exactly what I wanted it to be. And I'm so overwhelmed that this was for the community. The last 7+ years, I have worked so hard at growing me and learning to love and fall in love with me. Have you heard of Sleep Token?
No.
Oh my God. Okay. I feel like I've just joined a cult. Okay. So you have to listen. They just dropped their 4th album. I mean, my mind is blown and I cannot stop listening to it. So I also have this playlist I create and I call it Can't Stop, Won't Stop. And it constantly changes. And my identity was tied to others. At the end of the day, who are you that's not contingent on another human? And so there was so much of that involved with how I got to. My life really took a huge turn 7 years ago.
Yay! Welcome. Raquel, thank you so much for joining us today. And welcome to everybody listening and watching. This is Cosmos by WPLift. And this is where we explore the people, the projects, and the ideas shaping the WordPress universe. So this podcast is sponsored by our friends at E2M, which is the #1 strategic, reliable, and AI-first white label partner for digital agencies. And my name is Julia Gollum. I am the host of this podcast. So today we are joined by my friend and WordPress community superstar, Raquel. And Raquel and I last saw each other at WordCamp US, which was September 2024. So more than 6 months ago. And it's really nice to be here with you. So welcome, Raquel, to Cosmos. Could you share a little bit about your journey in the WordPress community and how it led you to where you are today for those who might not already know you?
Yeah, that's always funny to answer this question because I'm like, who doesn't know me? But that's such a silly statement. So my first WordCamp, which was my intro to the community, was WordCamp San Diego 2012, which sounds like forever ago. Cannot believe it. And all I went to was the after party. I actually didn't even go to the actual conference because I went with at that time, my then partner, and he went to the sessions and I was just new to being an entrepreneur. And I was still at that time, I mostly identified as a stay-at-home mom, but I had started this business with him and we had business coaching. So I just started to go to conferences and went to the after party and was blown away, absolutely blown away. I could not believe what I just experienced. And I feel like for me, someone who's been part of communities her entire life, I was born and raised in a faith-based family. So church was a very big part of my life, public school, dance team, college, went to big university. So I was used to communities. And for the first time, I experienced a community that genuinely seemed so humble and curious about me for no reason, for none. And it blew my mind, especially coming from all these other communities that said they were about that life, but didn't actually display it. So I remember walking away beaming, just like this giant smile, and I didn't know why. And that year I went to so many WordCamps and went to then went to those sessions. And that was sort of what just got started at the beginning. And then I just quickly started volunteering, started organizing in 2015 and have been actively organizing WordCamps since 2015. And that's really how I got started and kind of where I am today with WordPress community.
That is so cool that you went from being a +1 at a WordCamp to organizing, being an organizer extraordinaire.
Yeah, this is a funny little story. And I'm a real transparent person, but I was married. I'm no longer married, but it was so funny because I entered into the community as so-and-so's wife. And then so I was like, oh, that's so-and-so's wife. And by the end of the 20 teens, maybe, it was like, oh, you're so-and-so's husband.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally flipped it. And all that to say is I really did develop my own reputation and brand, I guess, in the community because I loved it so much. So, yeah.
And then, so we saw each other at WordCamp US in September of 2024. And then before that, I saw you at WordCamp Phoenix 2024, which you also were the lead organizer of. That was February.
Yeah.
So a little more than a year ago. So
wow.
Yeah. And now most recently, just last month in late April,
Uh,
2025, you organized PressConf, and the community is buzzing following PressConf. I just talked with Taco a couple weeks ago, and he was just lit up from his time there. So congratulations, first of all. And
Thank you.
my understanding is that PressConf was thought of as a successor to Pressnomics. And what motivated and inspired you to revive that concept? And how does PressConf build on that legacy?
Yeah. So I'd been to every iteration of Pressnomics. The first one was 2012, actually, November 2020 or 2012. And the last one was September of 2019. And I saw firsthand how much the community loved this event. And it was very much still the WordPress crowd. So even though it was always an independent event, it was for WordPress. So the community there was a very recognizable community. But I began at the beginning of my entrepreneurial phase so at the beginning, I was just sort of like learning and observing. And then early on was asked to help at the time because Josh and Sally Strebel were having their second baby. And the conference happened when she was like 9 months pregnant. So I actually got an even more big insight to like what it was like to be on the like actual like hands-on side of the conference. So fast forward to post pandemic. So probably around Porto in WordCamp Europe, which is where I first met you, I remember, 2022. There just seemed to be this deficit. Obviously, there was a deficit in events because we were still recovering from pandemic. And between that time and late 2023, I just started to hear from the community how much they wanted it back. And I had developed a friendship with Josh and Sally, but I tread lightly. They also sold their company, Pagely, and retired. And I didn't want to be like that person that just was bugging somebody. And I knew so many people were like, bring Pressnomics back, bring Pressnomics back. So the seed at this point had been planted and was just starting to grow. And every time I heard somebody in WordPress just having a desire and a need for a business of WordPress conference back, it just was like, I felt like just like a little bit more water and sun was just like growing on the seed. And it started to sprout. And I even like had the other talks with other known community players of like, hey, maybe we could do this other event. And then it didn't happen. And it just was, if you could imagine, like it was growing and it needed to be replanted, repotted. I don't have plants, but my friends do. But yeah, it just started to just get so big that I finally was like, this has to happen. This has to happen. There was no other way I saw it could go. And for me personally, I really started to believe that I could do it. It just was like, I have all these years of organizing really amazing events. WordCamp Phoenix 2024 that's a whole personal little like sad part of my life because it wasn't what I envisioned it to be. Not that it was bad, but it just wasn't what I envisioned it to be. And that like hurt. There was a little bit of pain there. And I think that pain actually was one of the catalysts. Another catalyst for this to happen was being in Taipei for WordCamp Asia and hiking with a bunch of WordPressers. And somebody said that CloudFest was the new Pressnomics. And I was like, absolutely not. It isn't. So like, excuse me. And then I remember coming back from that and getting on a mastermind call, I think with you. Yeah.
Mhm.
And a few others. And again, someone else was just like, we really need a business of WordPress event. And I just was like, what are you doing? This has to happen.
Yeah.
We got off that call and I contacted Josh and Sally and here we are. It happened.
I love that mastermind group, which arose out of, I think, WordCamp Asia, actually.
Yeah.
That had a little part in the story as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Cool. So, business of WordPress, could you share more about what that means and who that is? Is it only, I'm thinking, people who run agencies, for example? Is it just WordPress or people who have sort of business in digital web more broadly or digital services?
Yeah. So, like with everything, there's a target market.
Mhm.
So the target market is anyone who drives the economy around WordPress.
Mhm.
And a more layman's way to put it is, do you make money off of using WordPress?
Yep.
Then this is for you. So there's no exclusivity. All are invited if you see value. But we do target WordPress and our talks are definitely going to be around WordPress and
Cool.
the community, the software,
Yep.
the project, really.
Yep.
So then, yeah, like let's say we're talking from like a sponsor perspective, a POV, like agency owners, yes, product developers, a lot of C-levels. We have some big companies now in WordPress, so C-levels and even freelancers. And I do make a point to say this is for freelancers as well, because it's not just for, big C-levels or like those who have like started these huge product companies and now there's just like so many. And it's for anybody who is making money off WordPress and they see the value of rubbing shoulders with a very specific type that's very like-minded to them.
Could you share how PressConf differs from WordCamp?
Yeah. So it's smaller one, especially when you compare it to, let's say, a flagship event. There's thousands, right? And so we joke about the hallway track at a flagship event. So in essence, what you could describe it as is you took the hallway track out of WordCamp and brought it to PressConf. So now you got all these hallway trackers, and I try to tread lightly because again, it's not about exclusivity, but there's a reason why that track sort of develops, and that's what we're trying to serve. And at the conference, there's one track. So the one track is everybody all in a ballroom together. The setup will be classroom style as opposed to theater style. So every seat will have a desk in front of them, essentially a table, and notes are encouraged. Like I said, one track, no recordings. That's strategic. There's no live, there's no audio, there's no video recordings because the talks specifically they are invited to be very raw, very honest. All the talks this year, especially because it was a reboot, was like, that was really it. It was share from your heart, challenge us, inspire us, cry. That was like a lot of what the speakers were charged with. So then, since there's no hallway track, essentially everyone's in the room with the speaker. And there are a little bit longer breaks because, of course, we know how it goes. You still do want to talk to your fellow attendees. But that's really the overall vibe. It's smaller. There was about 140 people this year, and you all go in the talks together. You go on breaks together. Lunch is a sort of choose your own adventure. We don't do lunch in the venue, so everyone just goes out, and it's very walkable to a lot of options. And you find new people to have lunch with and create or capitalize on serendipitous moments with who you meet, and then you come back. And that's one, I guess, pretty much how it is different than a WordCamp. Smaller.
So cool.
Simpler.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the kind of different kind of vulnerability that would come with not recording the sessions. And I'm thinking about WordCamps where for the WordCamp program, recording sessions is in fact a requirement. And
right.
Yeah, so that's really neat that you're.
And it's hard to not, like, we don't want, again, it's not about exclusivity because I get it. When you record, it gives opportunity for people who aren't there. But that is the magic of this conference, is to be there. And a big musical fan. So my own personal little tagline for it was be in the room where it happens. And from like Hamilton.
Yeah.
Not for you, but for everyone else who might be listening, doesn't know what I'm saying. And it's because that's where we really wanted to problem solve and created this opportunity for the movers and shakers, silly phrase, of WordPress to decide what we want with WordPress and where do we want to see this project go. And having a safe space, without recordings really does help cultivate that.
For listeners who aren't familiar with the hallway track term, could you share what that is?
Yeah. So at a WordCamp, a lot of times what ends up happening are there's so many tracks of talks and speakers. And what I still love and preach and share with everybody about WordCamps is you're giving so many opportunities to first-time speakers and a lot of like new users to WordPress. And so that really is so beautiful that the WordCamps help solve that problem. It allows for people to get opportunity to share. So then a lot of times what ends up happening are the C-levels, the agency owners, product developers end up not exactly going to a session, but they end up in the hallways. And a lot of times the hallway track ends up being the sponsor hall.
Yeah.
And they have meetings and just use that time and WordCamp itself to have important in-person meetings with each other in the hallway as opposed to going to the sessions.
It's where relationships happen. Because relationships don't happen when people are in a seat watching a talk, sitting quietly watching a talk on stage. They happen when people are meeting new folks or seeing someone they saw this time last year at the same conference. And following up.
Yeah. And I try not, again, I try to be careful because it's not like as a WordCamp organizer, it's not that you don't want people to go to sessions. You
Sure.
do but there's so many. So one, there's
Yeah.
no way you could go to all the sessions when there's multiple tracks, but two, you pick and choose, right? Like, let's say, oh, my friend's speaking for the first time. I'm going to go support that talk. And then the rest, I'm going to capitalize on meeting people and developing relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. And the talks are one piece of the value that attendees get from a conference. Like surely
Totally.
they are valuable. And I think people really tend to go for the relationships.
So much. That's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Could you share a moment from PressConf that captures what you were really hoping to achieve?
Okay. I'm going to start crying probably. It's hard to share one because overall, like the whole thing was exactly what I wanted it to be, exactly what I intended it to be. And I'm so overwhelmed that this was for the community and my gift to the community. At the same time, it is such a reflection of my own personal growth. And geez, I'm like really crying. Because I come from this background of like not thinking I had any value and not believing that I deserved to be loved. And the last 7+ years, I have worked so hard at growing me and learning to love and fall in love with me. And so for me, the fact that I started my own company again, me though, this time just me, and brought back this like gift of love that I got to give to the community that overwhelmed my heart that everyone saw the value. But I was like, oh my God, like it really is true that I do love me. It's so silly to say that just because like I know, especially in tech, you just don't hear that a lot, but I'm very big on everything that we do. If we do it to the best of our ability, it's because we've taken care of ourselves first. And I wasn't doing that for so much of my life. And now I finally am. So when I was just at the event and just looking at everything happen exactly how it was supposed to happen, I'm like, it was simultaneously, it was like, you did this, Raquel, and also look at everybody who's getting so much value out of this. And one thing that did stand out was so many people were like, Raquel, you're way too calm. You look so calm. Like you did all this and yet you're not stressing or anything. I'm like, one, okay, that's great. But I didn't even realize. But two, I'm like, I'm in my element. This is just went off how it's supposed to happen. And it just was like, I think for me, confirmation that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Is just hearing everyone say that I look so calm, as opposed to when you're at you're organizing, like, and I've done 3 WordCamp US iterations and you're just kind of everywhere and frantic and you're getting it done, but it's just a labor of love. And this is so much a labor of love, but it was I think I need to find a new phrase. Like it was like a gift of love. And yeah.
That's so lovely. That's so lovely. Was there anything that surprised you in the process or about your experience at PressConf?
Man, that's I feel like a hard question because again, I feel like the whole thing was sort of a surprise just because there's still that part of me that wants to second guess everything. They're during the planning and all that, like, especially like when I quit my day job, like, which was in the middle of planning a PressConf. There's these moments where you're like, oh my God, Raquel, what the hell have you done? Why did you do this? And then of course, most of the time I'm like, no, this is what you're supposed to do. So then when you're there, you're at the event and it's actually what it's supposed to be. It's not a surprise, but it kind of feels like a surprise. It kind of is like, surprise, you made this happen, but it did happen. And for me, for someone who's recovering people pleaser, recovering not self lover, that still feels like a surprise. And maybe people can relate to that.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. So I want to, in a moment, want to follow this thread about how you quit your day job.
Yeah.
First, I have a question. Are there plans for PressConf in 2026?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the only thing that's stopping any official announcements are just locking down dates. Yeah, really, I mean, really, that's just it, is locking down the date. And then there are plans for maybe moving it as well, not out of the States, but then creating another like PressConf in another area of the world.
Wow, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for now, for
Well,
sure,
stay
it's happening
tuned.
again next year. Yeah.
Cool. And is there anything that at this point you think you want to do differently based on your experience in
Yeah,
2025?
totally. I mean, off the bat, I actually want to maybe even do less talks and more space in between, more padding, or just more time because we don't have that hallway track. Everyone, more and more, I'm hearing so much that people really did enjoy going to these talks because that's something you don't really do at a WordCamp. And so the answer is let's do both. Yes, and right. So like maybe just less talks, keep the same quality of talk, to keep maybe the length of talk, but then now allow more time for the building relationships with the attendees.
Okay, I'm really excited to continue to track this and hopefully make it in 2026.
Yeah, totally.
Yay. So you founded WonderlandCurious, and that's a tech event consultancy. What inspired this new venture for you, and how does it differ perhaps from traditional event planning?
Yeah, so much of this still overlays a lot of my story I've shared so far, even stemming back from being just, I mean, I became a mom when I was still just a baby. As long as I've been an adult, I've been a mom, and my identity was tied to others. And I didn't have Raquel's identity. I was a wife or a mom. And those are not bad sub identities, but they're not you. At the end of the day, who are you that's not contingent on another human? And so there was so much of that involved with how I got to starting the company. And a little bit, I guess, for starting my own company again, one was when my life really took a huge turn 7 years ago, I had to make some choices, and I exited the company I'd built, and for good reasons, because I was starting to discover my giftings. Like I was really loving, I mean, honestly, we're organizing WordCamps, and at WordCamp Phoenix, we just had this like passion. We had this crazy team, and we would just put on these amazing events, and we were always so proud. We were always so proud of ourselves because it was such a cool event. And not to knock other WordCamps, but it was just like what we loved. We just loved it. And to some degree, I would argue that like I see the point of keeping a local WordCamp super simple, grassroots, chill. I get it. For whatever reason, at WordCamp Phoenix, we didn't do it that way. We just went big and we had so much fun doing it. And it started this love for me. Like I could maybe do something like this. But really what got me starting the company was in 2018, I went on this trip to Iceland with other tech people, and it happened to be organized by a known WordPresser at the time. And there was a few other WordPressers that went to this trip, Taco being one, Robbie McCullough. And this trip was so amazing. It was an unplugging, and in Iceland, we hiked, we chilled. And if anyone ever been to as a kid to summer camp, it can relate to you. It's like a bonding experience. It's like you're spending all this time with these people, and there's this forever bond knitted between you guys because it's just so sweet, intimate, and you don't even realize it while you're there. You realize it later. And so what I had this idea for the last 5 years, 6 years of starting like a group travel company where I would just organize group travel around the world, domestic. Some of them could be a 2-week co-working time. Some of them could be a 1 week of unplugging. Maybe it could be literally adult summer camp in the mountains, northern Arizona or somewhere in the States. And as I was developing this idea, my kids were teenagers, and I was just determined that I became a mom, and I'm going to mom as hard as I can until that last one graduates. And so I made choices throughout that time and just let it sit. And the choices I made was setting it aside, and I'm going to choose them. And then last year, literally a year ago from literally yesterday, my baby graduated, and she graduated, and I really had this time of sort of, honestly, I think it was the first time I experienced burnout because I think I've been like running a marathon since I was like 20 years old when I became a mom. And I finally crossed the finish line, and I was like, oh, I'm tired. I was like, oh, okay. I just finished this huge race. And so I took the summer to let it sit. But this was also at the same time that PressConf was like going to happen. And that summer of just kind of resting and letting my thoughts come together, I figured out what I was going to do. And then August came, and I was like, well, I need to LLC this, put myself through a little branding process and came up with the name. And that's a whole little story in itself. And what I loved was this idea around this company that I now was going to build was to do tech events, because that is something that I know I do and I do well. And as someone who's struggled with identity, it's like because everyone, especially in WordPress, have been like, oh, we love Raquel. And I'm always like, why? Why? And hire me then. But at the same time, it was like, I have great soft skills, but what are my hard skills? And I'm like, well, my hard skills are organizing events. That is what I do. And I do have this like silly, whimsical personality that I love about me. And I don't ever want that to leave. And so there's this idea of who I was since I was as long as I can remember. And that's this little adventurous girl who is girly. And I think of Alice. That's always what I think of. The Lewis Carroll character is just following rabbit holes, high curiosity, in a dress, getting dirty, which was me as a child, and just so curious and little stubborn, little tenacious. And I'm like, well, that's what I want to bring. I want to organize tech events for people in tech who I think need that because we're kind of a little stuffy, community. And I don't mean that just with WordPress. I mean in tech in general. And then as a little like side piece, and that sounds silly to say it that way, but also do group travel. So that is like what encompasses Wonderland Curious. So my little tagline is curiouser events and curiouser travel. And if you caught on it, that's the curiouser and curiouser, which is what is often said in his books, Alice would say. So yeah, that was
I
a
love
lot,
it.
but
Thanks for sharing that story. So
yeah,
Wonderland
totally.
Curious is the umbrella org that organizes PressConf, and then you
Hmm.
also are working on other events and maybe some travel as well.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Cool. Is there anything else that you're working on through Wonderland Curious that you are able to share about?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's official just yet, but there's definitely been a lot of conversations. I am also like for hire to consult with and organized another entity's event if they want me to. So then it's not it's still their event. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So there's talks there in the WordPress space. And then because of PressConf, there's also talk of like getting ready to organize the first group travel. And I'm so excited for that because then it's so random. It's like, it's not big. It'll be maybe like 20 people. We all go somewhere together and just have this experience together. So it's happening. The conversations are happening. There's just nothing official to share yet.
That is so cool. That is just phenomenal. What do you
I'm
see
excited.
as the role of events and travel, perhaps, things like WordCamp and PressConf in the WordPress ecosystem? Why are they important?
I mean, I'm the biggest advocate for IRL everything. And as our world just completely becomes so digitized, which I don't, it's a catch 22, right? Like we're in the digital revolution, we're post industrial and we're becoming more and more connected through a virtual means, which is lovely, but it is that much more that we're going to still need that in-person connection. And I'm so appreciative that you and I get to do this. And I think you split your time between the East and the Pacific Northeast or the Pacific Northwest and the Northeast, if I remember.
Yeah.
But and so where you are now, I'm in Phoenix, and we're able to have this time together. So and I love it. Energy shared between in person, even though we feel it now, is exponentially more when it's in person. So we need it more than ever. And I will do what I can to promote it, to provide space for it, to hold space for it, especially because in North America, we all know that WordCamps are lacking big time.
Yeah.
And I don't, if I could do anything to be part of the solution, then I will. And I still support WordCamps. Just bought my tickets for WordCamp US, at least the like plane travel and all that. And I'm still very much part of this community. But wherever I can cultivate in-person experiences, I'm going to, because as we become more digitized,
Yeah.
we're going to need it even more. And that's a whole other topic in itself.
My experience with in-person events is that I could be meeting weekly with somebody on Zoom and they're my colleague and I think of them as a colleague, a work acquaintance, a coworker. And
Yeah.
then once we get in person, that's when the transformation from colleague to friend takes place.
Yeah.
And then once I have met someone in person and experienced them as a friend, so much more can happen between us. It's like it becomes fun. Work becomes fun. Work becomes so much easier. Like this conversation for me feels like a fun conversation with a friend as
Yeah.
opposed to I have to talk with, I don't know, a stranger for work. And that's
No,
because of the
absolutely.
in-person FaceTime.
No, I love it so much. It's funny you say that. The other funny thing about it is there's times I remember organizing WordCamp US and you have weekly meetings. Of course, there's a lot of people. So like you just see this like Brady Bunch little like, Zoom head.
Hmm.
And then in Paris that year, him coming up to me, one of the organizers, and we're just talking. I did not have any idea who it was. I'm like, I'm Raquel, by the way. He's like, yeah, I'm so and so. We see each other every week. And I was like, what? Because it's just different. Yeah. It's just different. Like you're just saying, and it was really cool. I was like, I love this. I love that I actually got to have the physical vibe shared with this person I'd seen, and I had no idea it was him. It's really funny.
Yeah. Are there any events not even WordPress related that you would be really psyched to attend, to go to as an attendee?
Yeah, and that's actually part of now my my little like self-imposed job description is to check out other events and do some recon. I actually just went to Canva Create, which was like 2 weeks before PressConf. And I was like, yeah, this isn't exactly the best idea to go to the conference that close. But it was really, really educational, mostly of what I know I don't ever want to do. But that's still very educational, and so I just it was really cool. Just everywhere I was going, it was just like taking it all in, looking at how, what, why, they do what they do. There's other ones too that I've been seeing, and some of them conflict with, like, I'll be at WordCamp Europe as well in 2 weeks. But I am going to go to CloudFest this year, or yeah, fall in Miami, which there definitely is that WordPress overlap. But I know that it's definitely not a WordPress event. It is hosting and tech event. So very much that's like now on my to-do list is start to go and see what's going on. See everything from big events, which is like tens of thousands of people, like a Canva Create, to smaller, more intimate, kind of similar to PressConf, just to see what's going on and what I could implement or what I know I will not do.
Yeah. Was Canva Create in San Francisco?
It was in LA. It was at SoFi Stadium. Yeah, it was big. It was huge.
What was it like? How would you describe it?
Definitely like every moment a stimulated time. Like you're walking in, it's a stadium. I don't love stadiums. I don't like feeling like you are almost like imprisoned. You can't bring in water. I just not a fan of that, but it's this giant stadium, and so that part's cool. And just everywhere you look, there's just lots of color because it's Canva, and there's all these like little ball pit experiences and just fun things. All the sessions you had to register for and then queue up like a half hour before the events or the session started. And then you still might not have gotten into
Yep.
the session. So there's tens of thousands of people. So they know that not everyone is going to even get a chance to go to a session except for the keynote, which of course Canva themselves ran the entire event. So all the session speakers and was all Canva employees. They didn't have any volunteers. They brought their employees from all over the world to run the show, like how, we have volunteers at WordCamp. It was actually Canva employees. And I mean, it was fun, and the weather was gorgeous, and it was chill. They had like couches and stuff set up everywhere. And I don't mean to sound like but I'm not doing it. But I was like, yeah, I don't ever want to do that.
No. I attended Config, which is the Figma conference last year. So I think it was roughly February or sometime in spring of 2024. They just held it again in 2025. It's in San Francisco. And it was, so no shade to Figma, and I have no idea how it was this year, but last year it was so chaotic and unpleasant. As an attendee, I queued in line for, not kidding, 2.5 hours just to enter.
Oh my gosh.
Just to enter the Moscone Center. There was something with their registration check-in system. It was down for a while. It might have been longer than 2.5 hours that I was waiting, which sets me off in it's the worst first impression as you're entering, to then be waiting in line for 3 hours. And yeah, it was way overpacked, but I will say their design elements were impeccable, right? And that makes sense because it's Figma, and are their core audience. So their swag was beautiful, for example, but the logistics left something to be desired. I went to do my own research before WordCamp US 2025 just to see what would inspire me for WordCamp US. Yeah.
It's funny you bring that up because I was going to bring up config also, and I considered going, but it was literally like last week or the week before, and it was just like way too much going on. But my designer who designed PressConf and is designing my site and everything for WonderlandCurious, he's huge. Yeah, he's just a prolific designer, but he raves. It's pretty much the same thing. He raves about the design of config, but like was just saying it was so chaotic. But a lot of what he designed for the conference was actually inspired by config and the way that they design things. And it was with my approval. So I get what you're saying exactly. It's like their aesthetic was amazing, but the logistics.
Yep. Yeah. So I know you also love music and dance, and I'm curious what you've been listening to lately. What's on your playlist?
Julie, it's cracking me up just now. I literally was like in post status, can we create a music lovers channel? I was literally just thinking that because we have like a food channel and life channel, but
I want to get
okay.
in on that channel.
Okay, that's going to happen because this is like now confirmation. But I legit, oh my God, this is so funny to me. This is so funny. Have you heard of Sleep Token?
No.
Oh my God. Okay. I feel like I just joined a cult. Okay. So you have to listen. They just dropped their fourth album, last or 2 Fridays ago. So a week ago, like around May 9th. And I'm binge listening. I cannot stop listening. And at first it sounds like they're like a hardcore band, but I'm not kidding. There's emo, there's R&B, like a little hip hop. They're so diverse, and this whole concept around music, my mind is blown and I cannot stop listening to it. And it's so funny because like lately I've been on this whole like hip hop R&B sort of kick. I'm definitely I'm like an emo girl. Like that's like my guilty pleasure. I'm like totally like into emo, but and being a dancer, it's kind of both. I always loved good sub pop, indie pop music, but also you're exposed to all the pop music because that's what you learn when you're, jazz or whatever. And so I've kind of always loved all sorts of music. So that's why this album is blowing my mind right now. And they're like, their identity is hidden, so you don't know who they are. So kind of a Daft Punk vibe. And they refer to themselves as Vessel One, Vessel Two, Vessel Three.
Oh, my
It's
goodness.
if you're into like any of those styles at all, like this like mashup of R&B and hardcore, little metal. There's even times where they're like screaming, but like not the whole time. I'm like, who have I become? I seriously feel like I drank some tonic and now I'm transformed. So
I
I would
can't wait to
highly
listen.
recommend it.
Thank you for
Yeah.
that recommendation. And it's funny you say you're an emo girl at heart. When I was in middle school and high school, I frequented the Warped Tour circuit. So I was right there with you. Although I haven't listened to emo in a while, but still have that. It's deep inside me.
Every once in a while, bring up my list, my playlist, my emo playlist. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I got it. I feel this right now. But
Yeah.
on the dance portion, I tore my tendon, not even kidding, almost 3 years ago. I cannot believe it was almost 3 years ago. And I hard stopped my competition ballroom training. I was like signed up for another competition and everything because I needed it to heal, but I didn't even know what I had done, and finally found out I tore a tendon. I do not recommend tearing tendons. I recommend breaking bones because a broken bone will heal within weeks, not a tendon. And
Ouch.
I think I'm finally able to start dancing again, but it's not without constant, like making sure I'm proactive about this silly little tendon.
I'm
So
so sorry.
it's been a bit, and I'm definitely at that part where I'm starting to like, okay, I'm going to lose it if I don't start dancing again.
What tendon was it? Is it?
My left, I guess it's called posterior tibialis. It's like as if this is your foot. It's like right along here. Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
It's hard to not be able to do
Yeah.
something you love for a long time.
Exactly. And I love just movement in general. And so, I work out like 4 times a week and hike, but we're entering into the don't come to Phoenix stage of the year, June through September,
Yeah.
which also means no hiking because it's
Right. Because
just
it's
too
so
hot.
hot. What do you like to do for working out?
I'm pretty diverse. I actually use ClassPass, so I could do a whole bunch of different things, but I do yoga almost every week, traditional yoga, and I do like an F45. So like hit training, making sure you're getting weights and all the like functional movement that you need for the rest of your life. I love that. I'm all about like elongating life. And when I'm 70, I want to like look like I'm 40, right?
Yes. Oh man, what's that book about lifespan? I'm trying to remember. I'm
There's
wondering if you read
so
this book,
much.
but
Body keeps a
I'll
score or
no, I'll think of it
okay.
and
Okay.
it's by a doctor. It's an incredible book, and it's the concept is that we want our lifespan and our health span. We want our health span to be basically as long as our lifespan. So sort of
Yes.
traditionally your health span starts to decline, let's say 20 years before you die. So you have 20 years of life where your health is declining, which means the quality of life isn't as good. So if our health span can extend as long as our lifespan so that the day before we die, we still have 90% of our good health. That's ideal.
Yes.
I'm
I am
into it.
about that life.
I'm into it.
The thing I just added was aerial yoga. Have you heard of that?
Oh, amazing. I've heard of aerial and I've heard of yoga, so I can kind of put that together.
Yeah. it's a lot of silks and ropes and things and
So you
getting
go to a
up.
studio for that.
Yeah. And that's scratching the dance itch a little bit, but it's all in the air, just like acro. But
So cool.
that one's really fun.
So I really love HIIT as well. And I usually do HIIT on Apple Fitness Plus. And my favorite trainer
Okay.
is this guy named Bakari Williams. And I just saw that he also has HIIT classes on, I think it's ClassPass. So if you ever encounter
Oh, okay.
Bakari in the like recorded
Really?
ClassPass, check him out. Yeah, he's great.
Okay. I'm like one of those I kind of have to get out. I'm like big, like I need
You
to
go
be with
out to the
others.
studio. Yeah.
I've tried doing stuff at home and I can, but there I go again. Like I just got to be around others. And there's just
Yeah.
like, also I kind of need someone to tell me what to do. I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, yes, thank you. Like I'm really bad at telling me what to do.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Yeah.
Going back to music, is there a song that you like to listen to at the start of the day to get hyped for the day?
It definitely does. I guess it's contingent on the mood I'm in. And I do have some playlists that I go to. And really what does get me super hyped is a lot of hip hop. And I'm like trying to think of any song right now that like will get me going immediately. Usually Travis Scott or something. I don't know why. Like that one like gets me going. I'm like, oh my gosh. Or like, oh, right now is the one I have it. So I also have this playlist I create and I call it Can't Stop, Won't Stop. And it constantly changes because I put in there the songs that I cannot stop listening to. Were the ones, and I drive my kids crazy, but I'll listen to the same song over and over and over and over. But Childish Gambino's, this one's older. I already forgot it again. I always, it's so funny. I always forget like the titles of the like songs that I love, but it's the Heartbeat. Do you know that one by
I
Childish
don't know if I
Gambino?
do, but I'm gonna listen to it right after this.
Yeah, it's called Heartbeat. A longer song. It's funny. It's kind of the same vibe I talk about with Sleep Token. It's like the song itself almost has like 2 or 3 different movements. It's almost like multiple songs in one. And this song by Childish Gambino is like kind of like gets a little like little rocky.
Mhm.
And I'm like that. I like it when artists do that. They kind of mash it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of last year, the Beyonce song Cuff It was my wake up music. Just every morning I would wake up and I'd play Cuff It, maybe multiple times just to get hyped. And
That's on my Can't Stop, Won't Stop.
it's such a good song. I still listen to it, but it's no longer sometimes it's still my morning energizer song, but I think I need a new
I
one.
feel it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that one cracks me up too. Cause I love being a woman and I love owning my femininity. And that one just like brings it out of me.
Yeah. That Beyonce album Renaissance is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay, so this is a question that you are our second ever Cosmos guest. So congratulations. Taco was the first, and he spoke so highly of PressConf and of course of you during our conversation. And so that's why we decided to invite you. So I am now going to ask you the question, who should we invite to the Cosmos podcast next? And do you have a question that we should ask them?
Man, we're probably gonna have to like edit out all my ums for this part. There's so many, and I think about like those who are making huge dents right now in WordPress, and I don't know why, but I cannot get out of my head right now, and I keep trying to like get him out of my head and think of somebody else, but I'm just gonna go with it because maybe this is just what the universe wants. But is Matt Medeiros? Was the Matt Report, but still the Matt Report and the WP Minute.
Yeah.
And he is someone who's been in WordPress longer than me and has been very involved and went from agency owner to working for Pagely and now works for Gravity. And so he's just been around the block, but has done so much for WordPress in the sense of like getting it out there on YouTube. He was like, I would say like one of the first pioneers to that. So question to ask him could be somewhere along the lines of, I know this is like everybody's question these days, is like the future of WordPress and how is it going to last? He's super into like using AI with WordPress right now. Mm-hmm. But also to me, he's one of the like most prolific brand builders in WordPress on social, like YouTube, Twitter. He's just so recognized, like globally recognized. So anything along those lines of like future of WordPress, how it sustains, and where do you see brand building going? Yeah. Poor Matt.
And what
I'm
do you
going to have to
mean?
tell him afterward.
What building?
He's just excellent at creating a brand of you, like you as a
Yes.
person. And he's cracking me up because he's going through this little bit of like, I'm so funny that I'm saying this, like not an existential crisis, but like a brand crisis, a brand awareness crisis, because he created the WP Minute to get his own brand away from it. But yeah, he just posted on the Matt Report that if you Google top 10, I guess, WordPress podcast, the Matt Report still comes up, and he hasn't released a podcast in years, yet it still comes up. And I'm like, because you built this brand of you. And he's tried to do other things like the WP Minute to get his own personal brand away from it. But yet the Matt Report is still the one that's like up there. So I'm like, bro, you did something. You did something that resonated, and it was you, your personal brand, and how it's been a part of WordPress as opposed to an entity. So like that just stands out to my mind of like, to me, he's like one of the most like perfect examples of how your personal brand really can like be spread globally. And he's done it so well. And I honestly don't even know if he knows how he did it, but he has.
Does that inspire you when you
It
think about
does
your
so
brand?
much. Like
Yeah.
he's one of my closest friends in WordPress, and I like very much like made him be part of PressConf. I like forced him and assigned him to speak at certain of the like panels and things. And so, yeah, he just is a good friend, but very much an inspiration and so humble. He is such a humble guy, like never takes credit. And I'm like over here, like, you need to stop and start taking credit
That
because you've
goes
done
back
some good things.
that goes back to the very start of our conversation when you were sharing about your entry point into the WordPress community and
Yes,
attending your first WordCamp and how you found the community to be so humble. So
exactly.
that's a
Yeah.
quality you love.
So
Yeah.
much.
Raquel, this conversation has been such a delight. Thank you so much for taking the time. And where can our listeners find you on socials or find you online, rather? And I'm thinking about you and WonderlandCurious and PressConf.
Yeah. Well, actually, all of the brands have squatted on all the mediums, so Twitter, X, IG, and even LinkedIn. But it's all me. And I'm like one of those, like, got these brands. But if you reach out to me, you'll get to reach out to PressConf and Wonderland Curious as well. So
Amazing.
I'm
And
pretty much
you're,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
go
like
ahead.
Raquel Karina.
Yep.
I can't just get Raquel everywhere unless it's on Slack. I can usually get just at Raquel. But Raquel Karina and some variation of that in all the mediums.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julia. This was fun, seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And thanks to everyone joining us and to E2M for sponsoring this podcast. All right.